The grand glass doors of Lancaster Couture swung open with a delicate chime. Inside, the boutique gleamed with opulence, marble floors polished to a mirror-like sheen, gold-framed mirrors reflecting shimmering designer gowns, and the air heavy with the scent of luxury perfumes. It was the kind of place where whispered conversations and swipes of black cards determined status, where the wealthy and elite came to indulge in exclusivity. Naya stepped inside. She was only 10 years old, but there was something composed about her, a quiet confidence in the way she carried herself, as though she was born to walk among the very richest surrounding her. Her pink dress was simple but elegant, her natural curls neatly held back by a delicate headband. She walked with curiosity, her gaze taking in the lavish displays. Behind her, 2 tall men in navy blue suits followed. Their postures were firm, their expressions unreadable behind dark sunglasses. They were her bodyguards, silent, ever-watchful shadows meant to ensure her safety. As Naya admired a row of handbags, a woman behind the counter noticed her. Margaret, the boutique's senior sales associate. A woman who prided herself on her ability to recognize true customers, the kind who belonged in places like this. And in her eyes, this little black girl did not belong here. Margaret's lips pursed in mild irritation. She had seen this before. Children wandering into the store, hands touching things they couldn't afford, wasting time that could be spent on real customers. But this time, it was worse. The girl's smooth brown skin, her tightly coiled hair, the 2 dark-skinned men flanking her, it all sent a clear message in Margaret's mind. This was not their world. Steeling herself, she strode forward. Her designer heels clicked against the marble, a sound of authority, of ownership. "Excuse me." Naya turned, meeting the woman's cold gaze. Margaret gave a tight-lipped smile, the kind that masked condescension under a thin veil of politeness. "May I ask what you're looking for, dear?" Her voice was overly sweet, but the steel beneath it was unmistakable. Naya tilted her head slightly, sensing the underlying tone. Still, she remained polite. "I was just admiring the collection." Margaret's fake smile didn't waver, but her posture stiffened. "I see," she said, eyes flickering toward the 2 men behind Naya. "Well, I'm afraid this boutique is very exclusive. We cater to a certain kind of clientele, people who truly appreciate luxury and elegance." There it was. The implication hung in the air, thick and unmistakable. Naya's fingers tightened slightly at her sides, but she did not break eye contact. The 2 bodyguards exchanged a glance. One of them, Marcus, shifted almost imperceptibly, his jaw tightening. The other, James, remained still, but his fingers twitched at his side as if resisting the urge to intervene. Margaret, emboldened by Naya's silence, pressed on. "Perhaps you'd be more comfortable shopping elsewhere," she suggested, her gaze sweeping over Naya's dress with barely hidden disdain. "Somewhere more suitable." Naya inhaled deeply. She had experienced this before. She had heard the way voices changed when they realized who she was. She had seen the subtle shifts in body language, the quick glances, the unspoken judgments. Still, it never ceased to sting. She straightened her shoulders. "And what exactly makes someone suitable to shop here?" Margaret blinked, caught off guard by the question. "It's about class," she said with a small, forced chuckle, as though stating the obvious. "About understanding true luxury. This isn't a place for—" She hesitated, searching for the right words. "Playing dress-up." Naya exhaled slowly through her nose. A quiet, knowing smile touched her lips, one that was far too mature for a 10-year-old. She reached into her pocket and pulled out her phone, her fingers gliding across the screen as she dialed a number. Margaret scoffed. "Calling your mother?" she said mockingly. "Or perhaps your guardian?" Naya didn't even look up as she answered, "Not quite." A few moments later, the doors of the boutique swung open again. Margaret's breath caught. The man who entered carried an aura of power so strong that the very air in the room seemed to shift. His salt and pepper hair was neatly styled, his perfectly tailored charcoal suit exuding wealth and authority. The customers who had been quietly watching the scene instantly recognized him. Henry Lancaster, CEO of Lancaster Fashion, owner of the very empire Margaret worked for. Margaret's stomach dropped. Henry's sharp gaze immediately landed on Naya, softening. "Naya, darling," he greeted warmly, striding toward her. "What's going on?" Naya turned to him with an ease that only deep familiarity could bring. "I was just wondering," she mused, her voice light yet pointed, "do all of your stores treat potential customers like this?" Henry's eyes flickered toward Margaret. His expression darkened. "What do you mean?" Naya gestured slightly. "Apparently, I don't have enough class to shop here." Silence. Margaret felt the blood drain from her face. "Mr. Lancaster, I didn't know." Henry's voice was like ice. "Didn't know what?" "That you were speaking to my niece? That you were judging a child based on the color of her skin?" Margaret's mouth opened and closed, no words coming out. Naya watched her, unblinking. Henry exhaled sharply, shaking his head. "We do not tolerate discrimination in our stores," he said, his voice dangerously low. "You are fired." "Immediately." Margaret gasped. "Please, sir, I didn't mean." "But you did," Henry interrupted, his tone final. "And now you'll have plenty of time to reflect on it." Margaret stood frozen, her perfect world crumbling around her. Henry turned back to Naya, his expression softening again. He placed a gentle hand on her back. "Let's go, sweetheart. There are plenty of other places that would be honored to have you as a customer." Naya smiled, slipping her small hand into his. "I think that's a good idea." As they exited, the two bodyguards followed in silent, imposing unison. The other customers, who had been pretending not to eavesdrop, watched them go with wide eyes. Outside, Henry glanced down at his niece. "Are you okay?" Naya nodded. "I'm used to it." Henry's jaw clenched. "You shouldn't have to be." Naya smiled, but there was something wise and knowing in her eyes. "Maybe. But at least she won't be treating anyone else like that again." Henry chuckled, shaking his head. "You are so much like your mother." Naya grinned. "I'll take that as a compliment." She walked beside him, her steps light, her heart steady. Because class wasn't about what you wore. It was about who you were, even when the world refused to see it.